I know, you've seen the title, so we're gonna see how many people actually watch the video. So can I just first say that we'll get onto what I mean in the title a little bit later on in the video, but I actually just first want to say this movie was incredible, just through and through. Like, this movie was absolutely insane. So if I was going to describe this movie in one word, it would just be pure madness. That is the one word I would use to describe this film, because that's exactly what this film is. And I don't mean that in a bad way, I mean that in the most positive way I possibly can. I know the film only came out 2 days ago, so this will be a non-spoiler section where I talk about the movie generally, but then I will get onto spoilers later on in the video, where we'll talk more about some of the craziest stuff that actually happened in this movie. And we'll actually talk about the ending as well, because the ending is something else as well. So all the characters in this movie, they were absolutely phenomenal. All the characters, all the emotional depth that all the characters had, and the character arcs themselves are really, really good. Now, the issue I mainly had with this film as a whole is that you can't actually watch this film on its own. And this is still a part of the non-spoiler section, because I won't really explain why in too much detail when it comes to the plot and some of the characters' motifs and stuff like that. But I'll just say generally that you can't actually really watch this film on its own, because some of the character arcs and some of the plans that were in this film aren't actually paid off yet. But that's because obviously we have Beyond the Spider-Verse coming out in March next year, so obviously a bunch of stuff is going to be carried over to that film. But I just think that as a movie as a whole, it definitely is a part one. And even though the movie itself is great because it sets up a bunch of really cool stuff and it does really good work with the characters, I definitely think you would benefit from watching this movie back to back with Beyond the Spider-Verse, because I reckon Beyond the Spider-Verse will enhance the stuff that happens in this movie 10 times over. So if the positive reception for this movie is already absolutely outstanding, then I wonder what Beyond the Spider-Verse will do for this movie. But as a movie on its own, if you were to just isolate this film from Into the Spider-Verse and you were to isolate it from Beyond the Spider-Verse, it doesn't work as a film. Like, when you start thinking about it as an isolated film, when you start thinking about it as an isolated project, the pacing is really, really weird. For example, all the multiverse stuff that we saw in the trailer happens really, really deep into the movie. But that's obviously because the ending of this film is the midpoint of the whole story. So, you know, when you think about it like that, it totally makes sense. Which is why I'm saying it definitely would be beneficial to watch this movie back to back with Beyond the Spider-Verse when that film actually does come out. But in terms of it being a movie, it's a good movie with good character stuff, but it just doesn't feel like a movie, if that makes sense. It feels like an event. It feels like a part one, definitely, to a two-part series. Because there are so many characters, there's so many plot threads, and it feels like all of these different character arcs, plot threads, everything that's going on in this film shouldn't work in one film. But it does, because as the audience, we understand that it's a two-part movie series. But with my little non-spoiler review out of the way, let's talk about spoilers. So if you haven't seen the film, definitely click off, because I'm guaranteeing you will want to see this movie. So yeah, go watch this movie first. Let's talk spoilers. So this movie is for the fans. This is a film for Spider-Man fans. This is not a movie for casual fans. Yeah, casual fans will go and watch this movie and will definitely have a good time, but some of the reveals, some of the plot threads are for Spider-Man fans. For example, the whole Captain Stacy's death being a canon event that happens in every Spider-Man story no matter where you look is something that the fans will only understand. Because as a mega fan, you will know that Captain Stacy dies in the comics, in the early 60s comics. You will know that he dies in the Tarzan movies. You will know that he dies a bunch of other places and a bunch of other stories. That story is very and heavily influential when it comes to Spider-Man. And it's like, wow, I can't believe they're recognizing events in such detail. It's honestly incredible. And not only that, we also got to see Andrew Garfield come back as well. His little cameo was really cool to see Captain Stacy's death once again. And the thing is about the cameos in this film, can I just say, we'll get onto the cameos more in just a moment, but one thing that I loved about the cameos was that they weren't actually pointless, if that makes sense. Like, it's not in the MCU where characters will just pop up here and there just because, you know, the fans will get excited and it's a character that they've seen before and, you know, they get all excited about it. It's not like that. It's not anything like that. For example, when Miguel O'Hara was explaining what a canon event is to Miles, basically he uses Captain Stacy's death as an example, basically saying that a captain always dies in a Spider-Man story. And maybe that might be a little meta dig at Spider-Man stories in general, but it's true. A captain always somehow ends up dying in a Spider-Man story. It always happens. And therefore, Andrew Garfield's cameo actually tied heavily into the film. And not just that, Spectacular Spider-Man also got a cameo as well. And it turns out that Captain Stacy actually died in his universe, which is mental because we never actually saw that happen in conjunction to the likes of Andrew Garfield, where we saw Captain Stacy actually die. Which means that Captain Stacy's death for Spectacular Spider-Man is the closest we're going to get to anything Season 3 related. But I thought that was absolutely awesome because we have more details about the future of Spectacular's story. So the cameo is tied into the story. The cameo is tied into the plot, the narrative that they were trying to tell, which is why they were so clever, which is why they weren't just pointless cameos. And overall, the cameos made it for the fans. The references made it for the fans. The plot, the actual narrative itself was based on something that only die-hard Spider-Man fans would really resonate with. Yeah, casual audiences will understand the premise and what's going on, but not all the casuals have seen all the other Spider-Man movies, have seen all the other Spider-Man stories, read the comics. They don't know, as Spider-Man fans do, that this is something that happens a lot, and it was just for the fans, the whole movie was. Let's talk about that ending as well. Oh my god. So Miles Morales being the Prowler, I mean, I think we all saw it coming about 5 minutes before the reveal happened, because I think they were slowly building up that Miles was in a different universe, because they set it up earlier that the spider that actually bit Miles comes from Earth 42, and basically that spider was meant to bite Peter Parker. But since that spider obviously went from that universe to Miles's universe, it ended up biting Miles, and Miles wasn't actually meant to be Spider-Man. So when he was sent home from Spider-Man 2099's universe, he actually went to the universe where that spider was from instead of his universe, which was absolutely crazy. And I think a bunch of people saw it coming, but it was kind of the weight of that reveal. And the weight of that reveal was brilliantly done through the emotional depth that they gave to Miles and his parents. The first half of the movie is all dedicated to Miles and his parents, or at least most of the movie is. And I'm not gonna lie, at first I was kind of like, okay, they're doing a lot with Rio and Jefferson here, like, what is going on? But it turns out that it really is paid off by the end of the film. Like, the stuff that they set up at the start is absolutely incredible. Once again, we haven't actually got the biggest payoff that we could have asked for, because we haven't had Miles come back to his universe and interact with his real parents, but we do know that that's coming in Beyond the Spider-Verse, so we just need to hang tight for that. But anyway, yeah, it was absolutely amazing, and that reveal at the end, that is something that's like really off the cuff and really comic booky, and I absolutely love it. Also, one little detail that I love is that whenever we get to, like, sort of a new part of the story or, like, a new world, they will, like, do the comic book thing and it'll be, like, a new issue of the story or, like, a new storyline. I thought that was, like, really interesting because, as we know, in comics, storylines can go on for as many as up to, like, 20 or 30 issues at a time. So I thought it was really cool that whenever, like, something kind of new would happen or there'd be, like, a groundbreaking reveal, they would, like, just throw a comic book on the screen and it'd be like stacking up as we go along. It'd be like, you know, oh, this is a new issue. I just thought that was a really nice detail. Once again, this is made for the fans. Let's talk about the art and animation style. The art was absolutely fantastic. Spider-Punk's art was really, really cool. Also, the art style of all the different worlds, especially Spider-Gwen's, was really artistic, and I could tell that they were definitely having a lot of fun with it, the animators behind this film. The animation, once again, was absolutely insane. They stepped it up tenfold from Into the Spider-Verse, and I didn't even think that was possible. Into the Spider-Verse revolutionized animation, and I don't know what this film is going to do. The impact that this film is going to have on animation, I don't even know, because this film stepped it up. I just want to also talk about Miguel O'Hara real quick. He is one of my favorite characters in this movie. I love Miguel O'Hara. I think he's a great character, and I cannot wait to see more of him. I won't lie, I didn't think we saw enough of him, and I think this was one of my only nitpicks for the entire film. I felt like we didn't really see enough of Miguel. We didn't really see enough of Peter Parker. And I felt like we could have seen maybe a little bit more of the Spot. But then again, like I said at the start of the video, we have to understand that this movie is a two-parter. So obviously, the arcs and the characters, they're all spread out across two parts. Which is why I said that you would definitely benefit watching this movie back to back with Beyond the Spider-Verse. And I'm not going to lie, this movie probably would be a lot better if you watched it with Beyond the Spider-Verse, because you'd get those payoffs that were planted in this film. Let's just talk about the Spot for a second. I love how the Spot went from this goofy villain, not even a villain of the week as Miles describes him, to becoming the man that is going to kill Jefferson Davis. They set that up, and the way that they tied all of that together was just pure genius, because Miles doesn't take him seriously. Miles underestimates the Spot heavily, and then the Spot comes back to be the reason as to why his dad is probably gonna die, which is, I think that is just, it's emotional, man. When the Spot gets all serious, it's like damn, it's satisfying because he's such a goofy villain, but then all of a sudden something just clicks and it's like, oh god, he means business. So the stakes for Beyond the Spider-Verse are really high. Like, they set up the stakes really, really well. But either way, yeah, this movie, it's a weird one. At first, I didn't really know what to think about it. Obviously, it's a fantastic movie. The character work that they do is absolutely phenomenal. The action sequences, they are amazing. All of the animation, the art style, once again, amazing. And Miles and Gwen, the two main characters, couldn't have asked for any better. Them two as a pair and their story is amazing as well. All the cameos tied into the story, amazing. All the side characters like Peter B. Parker, Jessica Drew, everyone, absolutely amazing. But I just didn't know what to think about it, because this movie didn't feel like a movie. And I know that it's a two-parter, and because it is, I'm definitely hanging on to that before criticizing the pacing or like how a bunch of stuff wasn't paid off. But like, I just thought it was really jarring at times, because you'd get like halfway through the movie and we'd still be just with Miles just hanging out with his parents. And yeah, I know this is going to be paid off in part 2, but that was like one of the only things I thought was a little bit weird about this movie. But once you get past that, I think it's pretty much fine. But yeah, it doesn't really hold itself down as a movie, which I think is the only real issue I have with it. But once again, yeah, you've got to see it as a two-parter. Either way, thanks for watching this video. Make sure to subscribe for more Across the Spider-Verse content. We're going to be doing a Beyond the Spider-Verse video soon, so make sure you're subscribed and have the bell on for that. It's going to be in a few weeks, but once everyone's seen the movie, we're going to start theorizing and we're going to start doing videos on Beyond the Spider-Verse, so make sure you're subscribed for that. With that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care and peace.